Chapter 3, eating for your inner rainbow. So tell us a little bit about how do we get about eating for our inner rainbow?
Yeah. So one of the first places to start to bring out our inner spectrum is to focus on the colors of food. And what I have found is that people are eating the brown, yellow, and white foods diet,
Yeah. Yeah.
over and over again. And what
Yeah.
is that? That is an inflammatory, aging, glycosylating. It's just doing all these things within our bodies that are just prematurely aging us and leading us down the path of chronic disease. And food is powerful. The idea that we take in so much in the way of the substance of food and the impact, the magnitude of food to really shift somebody is phenomenal. So in that chapter, I talk more about the basics of eating for your spectrum and to start with that as a foundation of food first.
Where does meat and fish fit into your rainbow, if at all?
Mm-hmm. So when I talk about, thank you, that's a good question. The rainbow, when I talk about it, I'm talking about plant foods.
Okay.
So typically when I'm talking about red, I'm talking about red colored foods like cherries and raspberries and watermelon, orange foods, cantaloupe, mangoes.
Not bleeding lamb and cow. Okay.
Well, and one thing, I'm not sure if you know this about me, but I don't subscribe to any dietary dogma. So I'm not vegan or I'm not keto, I'm not paleo. I believe that all paths are welcome because we're a very diverse universe with many different people. And so personalization is key. So is there a place for meat within the rainbow diet? Absolutely. And so that's aside from the colors of food and looking at the energetics of food.
Okay.
So things like meat would connect to the root system, which is red, which is more about stabilization, our immune system, feeling grounded. It's protein. So if we can imagine a circle where the middle of the circle, the rainbow diet, is really about the colors of food. And then around that would be the energetics. What are the properties of food and how do they add to each of those 7 systems of 7 colors? So one of the things with protein is when you see people eating meat, that gives us concentrated protein to create more stabilization in the body. Too little protein, regardless of source, can lead to kind of that instability. We need protein because otherwise, if we have so much in the way of carbohydrate and sugars, we feel kind of almost a bit fragmented from our bodies. Yeah. And so, but people who eat too much in the way of protein, whether meat or other sources, they can also I have noticed this. There's no science on this, but I've noticed that, there is some science on them being inflamed. You can easily get inflammation with too much protein and not enough of other things to complement that protein, like plants. So you can get you can get more redness and inflammation in the body. And I also think that there's a personality type that can evolve too. It's kind of like, I'm from the Midwest of the United States. And so it's kind of that classic meat and potatoes. It's like, we're stuck. We like our routines. We like our habits. And that's kind of like the connection with lots amount of animal protein. No judgment, by the way, on people that eat animals. Again, I think that all eating paths fit. I view meat as medicine, very similar to how it's viewed in the TCM model and even Ayurveda.
Yes.
Oh, I think that for some people, it's quite honestly, it contains cofactors and nutrients that they simply need.
I also think there's a stage of life where you need meat, and I've shared this in some of the other podcasts and interviews where I was a born vegetarian and just never had a taste for meat or fish, or especially not for fish. And then when I started going through menopause, it seemed like if I wasn't eating meat or if I didn't have fish or meat on a particular day, I would just feel so much more tired. I would have my hot flashes. But if I had just a little bit of meat, it's almost like it would keep me well. And I mentioned this to a couple of doctors and they said, no, it's probably nothing to do with meat. Just try adding more fat. And I, did that. I added some more nuts and tried all kinds of things, but nope. There's something that happened to me where my body was saying, nope, at this stage in life, I need this additional kicker, and it needs to come from real food, not the protein powders and not the vegan protein powders, because none of those work. I tried a whole bunch of things. And this is one of the reasons I tell people keep a health journal, because that's the only way you'll figure out what works and what it doesn't work. So,
You know what? And two, I think that we've lost way with listening to our bodies,
oh yeah,
especially for women throughout their
yeah,
cycle, for those women who are having a menstrual period. It's
yeah,
amazing how your cravings and how, if we're really honoring the body and where we're at,
yes,
even antioxidants cycle through the blood, like our vitamin C, our vitamin A, our vitamin E levels change throughout the month. And there are correlations with hormones. And so if we
yes.
are in proper regulation with our body and where we're at from a very healthy place, then I think that we can honor those signs and signals and act on them.
Absolutely.